equations in slope-intercept form. All right, previous objective was to graph lines given the slope and the y-intercept is for 4.1. You have two objectives to copy down in your notes for today. Pause the video and get these down. Also, there is no vocabulary in this lesson. Lucy said she didn't want you to write anything down for vocab today, so you don't have any vocab for this lesson. Y'all done? Am I boring you? You're yawning. All right, let's get started. Example 1, write an equation given the slope and a point. Write an equation of a line that passes through 2, -3 with a slope of 1/2. All right, so what do I know so far? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Right now I have a point, x equals 2 and y equals -3, and I have a slope of 1/2. So what I'm going to do is I'm plug in everything that I have. So -3 equals my y equals, my slope is 1/2. My x is 2, and I have plus b. So what we need to do is we need to solve for b. So right now I have -3 equals -2, -1 times 2 is -2, -2 divided by 2 is -1, x plus b. I'm sorry, -1 plus b. And now I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I get -2 to equal b. So basically what we need to do with these examples is solve for b. So my grand answer is y equals, they already give us the slope of 1/2 x, and we figured out that our b is -2. All right, let's move on to the next example. Same thing. Y equals mx plus b is what I know. My equation needs to be in at the end. I have a x equals 2, I have a y equals a -3, and I have a slope of -6. So let's plug in everything that we have. We have -3 equals, my slope is -6 times my x value, which is 2, plus b. Simplify, -3 equals -12 plus b. Add 12 to both sides, and I get 9 to equal b. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. Y equals, again, they give you the slope, -6x. My b value is +9. All right, now we are already at our multiple choice question. Write an equation of a line that passes through 1, 4 and has a slope of -3. Take your time, figure out what you know you have, plug in your values and solve for b, and then plug that value back into your equation for y equals mx plus b. All right, example number 2, write an equation given 2 points. Step number 1 is to find the slope of the line containing the points. So in the first example, they gave us the slope. This case, they don't. So what I need to do for step number 1 is go back to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, my equation for slope. And it's going to be -8 minus a -4 over -2 minus a -3. So let's see what I get for a slope. -8 plus 4 ends up being -4 over -2 plus 3 is 1. So right now I know that my slope is -4. Okay, and just like we did in example 1, we now need to figure out what b is. So step number 2 says use the slope and one of the 2 points to find the y-intercept. It doesn't matter which one you use. You can use the first set or the second set. I will just happen to use the first set. So right now I know y equals mx plus b. My y value happens to be -4 equals my slope we figured out was also -4. My x value is -3 plus b. That leaves me with -4 equals +12 plus b. Subtract 12 from both sides, and I get -16 equals my b. Third step, write the slope-intercept form. We figured out what our m was, and we figured out what our b was. So my equation is y equal -4x minus 16. That is how you write an equation given 2 points. All right, so let's do another one. Write the equation of the line that passes through -2, -1, and 314. So step number 1 is going to be figuring out what our slope is. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it looks like 14 minus -1 is 15 over 5. And my slope happens to be 3. So step number 1 is finding your slope. Step number 2, take your slope and plug it into any one of the points. I'm going to use 3 and 14 because I don't want to deal with negative numbers. So here is the information that I know. So I'm going to plug it in. Y equals mx plus b. My y is 14 equals my slope of 3 times my x value of 3 plus b. I get 14 equals 9 plus b. Subtract 9 from both sides. And I get 5 to equal b. So I found my m, I found my b. My third and final step is to write it in y equals mx plus b form. So y equals 3x plus 5 is your answer. We will do one more if you want to pause the video and see what you get for the equation y equals mx plus b given the 2.6, -2, and 3, 4. All right, hopefully you paused your video. Let's get started right away. Step number 1 is to figure out what your slope is. 4 minus a -2 over 3 minus 6 happens to be 8. I'm sorry, 6. 4 plus 2 is not 8. It is 6 over 3 minus 6 is -3. So my slope happens to be -2. All right, step number 2 is to plug in what I know. Again, I'm going to use 3 and 4 so I don't have to deal with negatives. X equals 3, y equals 4, and my slope is -2. So in the equation y equals mx plus b, I am going to plug in 4 equals -2 times 3 plus b. I get 4 equals -6 plus b. Add 6 to both sides. And 10 equals b, or my y-intercept. So my third and final step is to rewrite the equation y equals -2x plus 10. Hopefully you got the same answer as I did. We are at the open-ended question, and again, 2 main examples for this lesson. Figuring out what y equals mx plus b is given the slope in a point, and the second example is given 2 points. So your open-ended question, just like we've been practicing, given 2 points. First step, find what your slope is. Second step, figure out what your b value is. And third step, write it in y equals mx plus b. See you tomorrow.